Every town has a story, but most people never stop long enough to notice it. They pass through streets, buildings, and familiar faces without realizing how much history surrounds them. In Theo of Golden by Adam Levi, the story does not begin with action or conflict. It begins with stillness, with a quiet town waking up to another ordinary day. But within that ordinary day lies something far more meaningful, something that slowly reveals itself through people, conversations, and time. Theo is not introduced with grand importance. There is no dramatic entrance or defining moment that immediately sets him apart. Instead, he exists quietly within the town, almost blending into the background. But the more you pay attention to him, the more you begin to notice something different. He watches people carefully, not with judgment, but with understanding. And that quiet observation becomes the foundation of his influence. Golden is not just a setting, it feels alive. Every street, every building, and every person contributes to the atmosphere of the story. There is a rhythm to life here, one that is slower and more intentional than the outside world, but that does not mean it is simple. Beneath that calm surface are complex emotions, unspoken struggles, and quiet hopes that shape each person's life. One of the first meaningful moments comes through a simple conversation. A young man, clearly troubled, sits across from Theo. He expects advice, maybe even answers, but Theo does not respond in the way he expects. Instead, he asks a simple question that forces the young man to think more deeply than he has before. That conversation does not solve the young man's problem immediately. In fact, it does something more powerful. It stays with him. As he walks away, the question lingers in his mind. It begins to reshape how he sees his situation, and that is the beginning of change. To understand Theo, you have to understand that he was not always this way. His perspective was shaped through experience, through moments that challenged him and forced him to grow. He has faced loss, disappointment, and uncertainty. But instead of becoming hardened, he became reflective. And that reflection became his strength. As more people interact with Theo, a pattern begins to emerge. He does not give direct answers. He does not tell people what they should do. Instead, he guides them toward their own understanding. And that approach creates deeper, more lasting change. The changes in Golden do not happen loudly. There are no dramatic turning points or sudden transformations. Instead, they happen quietly within individuals. A shift in thinking, a new perspective, a moment of clarity that leads to action. One person's change begins to influence another. Conversations lead to decisions, and decisions lead to outcomes. Slowly, the entire town begins to shift, not in a way that is immediately visible, but in a way that is deeply felt. Through all of this, Theo remains the same. He does not seek recognition, he does not try to control outcomes. He simply continues to listen, to observe, and to ask the questions that matter. And that quiet consistency is what makes his presence so powerful. In Golden, no one is without a story. Every person you see walking down the street carries something beneath the surface. Some carry regret, others carry hope, and many carry questions they have never fully answered. These stories are not always visible, but they shape every decision people make. And it is through these individual lives that Theo's quiet influence begins to reveal itself. One of the people we encounter is a man weighed down by regret. His life has not gone the way he expected, and he carries the burden of past decisions. He replays those moments in his mind, wondering what he could have done differently. When he sits across from Theo, he expects judgment or advice. But instead, he is met with something unexpected. Theo listens and then asks a question that shifts everything. That question does not erase the man's past. It does not fix his mistakes or change what has already happened. But it forces him to see his situation differently. Instead of being trapped in regret, he begins to consider what he can do now. That small shift in perspective becomes the beginning of something new. And for the first time in a long time, he feels a sense of possibility. Another story introduces a young woman who feels completely lost. She is standing at a crossroads in her life, unsure of what path to take. Every option feels uncertain, and the fear of making the wrong choice holds her back. When she speaks with Theo, she hopes for clarity. But instead of giving her a direct answer, he helps her confront the fear itself. And in doing so, he changes how she approaches her decision. After that conversation, the woman does not suddenly have all the answers. But something inside her has shifted. She realizes that waiting for certainty may not be the solution. Instead, she begins to move forward, accepting that uncertainty is part of the process. That decision, though small, changes the direction of her life. And it all began with a single conversation. The story also explores relationships that have been damaged over time. Misunderstandings, pride, and unspoken emotions have created distance between people. In one case, two individuals who once cared deeply for each other now struggle to even communicate. The tension between them feels heavy and unresolved, and it seems like there is no easy way to repair what has been broken. When one of them speaks with Theo, the conversation does not focus on blame. Instead, it focuses on understanding. Theo gently guides them to reflect on their own role in the situation. He helps them see beyond their anger and consider what truly matters. And slowly, the idea of reconciliation begins to feel possible. The reconciliation does not happen instantly. It is not dramatic or perfect, but it is real. Small steps are taken, conversations are reopened, and understanding begins to replace resentment. This is how healing happens in Golden. Quietly, gradually, and with intention. As we move through these stories, a pattern becomes clear. Every person is dealing with something different. Yet, at the core, they all share a common need. They need clarity, understanding, and the courage to move forward. And Theo provides the space for that to happen. Through all of these interactions, Theo remains the same. He does not change his approach based on the person. He listens, reflects, and asks questions that matter. His consistency creates trust, and that trust allows people to open up in ways they might not otherwise. Many of the most important moments in this story happen in silence, after conversations, after decisions, and after realizations. These are the moments when people sit with their thoughts and begin to understand themselves more clearly. And it is in these quiet moments that real change takes place. As these individual stories unfold, the town itself begins to feel different. The changes are subtle, but they are there. People communicate more openly, they approach challenges with a different mindset, and slowly, the entire community becomes more connected. By now, it becomes clear that Theo's influence is not about control or authority, it is about perspective and presence. He does not change people directly, he creates the conditions for them to change themselves, and through those individual changes, something larger begins to take shape. In the final part, we will explore what all of this truly means and what Theo's life ultimately represents. As we move into the final part of the story, everything begins to come together. The individual stories, the conversations, and the quiet moments all start to reveal a deeper meaning. This is no longer just about the people of Golden. It is about what their experiences represent and what Theo's role truly means. When you look back at all the interactions Theo has had, a pattern emerges. He never forces change. He never imposes his own beliefs onto others. Instead, he helps people discover their own understanding, and that approach creates something much more powerful than simple advice. One of the most important ideas in this story is the ripple effect. A single conversation can lead to a series of changes. Those changes can influence others, and over time, the impact spreads far beyond the original moment. Theo's influence works in exactly this way. By the end of the story, the town of Golden is not the same as it was before. The changes are not dramatic or obvious at first glance, but they are deeply meaningful. People connect more honestly, they approach life with greater awareness, and that shift creates a stronger, more supportive community. Theo represents a different kind of leadership. He does not lead through authority or control. He leads through presence, understanding, and consistency. His influence comes from who he is, not what he demands, and that makes his impact lasting. Everything Theo offers comes from experience. His wisdom is not theoretical. It is grounded in real moments, real struggles, and real growth. That authenticity is what makes people trust him, and it is what makes his words resonate. One of the most powerful outcomes of Theo's presence is that others begin to reflect his approach. They listen more, they think more deeply, they help others in the same way they were helped, and in doing so, Theo's influence continues to spread. At its core, this story emphasizes the importance of reflection. It shows that growth does not come from rushing forward without thought. It comes from pausing, understanding, and choosing intentionally. And that message feels especially relevant in a fast-paced world. The story comes full circle. The town looks the same, but it feels different. The people are the same, but they have grown. And Theo remains as he always was: quiet, observant, and present. Theo's legacy is not something that can be easily measured. It is not about achievements or recognition. It is about the lives he has touched, the perspectives he has shifted, and the changes he has quietly set in motion. Theo of Golden is a story that stays with you. It does not rely on dramatic moments or intense conflict. Instead, it focuses on the quiet, meaningful aspects of life. It reminds us that small actions can have a lasting impact, and it challenges us to think about the way we interact with others. What makes this story powerful is its simplicity. It reflects real life in a way that feels honest and relatable. It shows that influence does not require attention, and it reminds us that we all have the ability to shape the lives of those around us. What did you think about this story? Did Theo's character resonate with you? Which moment stood out the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and want more book summaries like this, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps bring more stories like this to life. I will see you in the next video.